All right, let's dive straight into this explainer and completely reframe everything you thought you knew about your inability to focus. If you've ever felt like your brain is just a scattered mess, or if you've been tempted to label yourself with an acronym like ADD or ADHD just because you can't seem to stay on task, well, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're going to unlock the secrets of unwavering focus, and we're doing it using the really incredible insights of a former Hindu monk, Dandapani. You know, he grew up in Australia, constantly teased for being distracted, but his life did a total 180 when he moved to a cloistered monastery in Hawaii. There, his guru didn't just casually tell him to pay attention. No, his guru actually taught him the mechanics of concentration, and that is exactly what we are going to uncover today. To kick things off, I want you to take a second and think back to your childhood. Try to picture yourself sitting in your elementary school classroom. Now, ask yourself, did you ever receive actual formal training on how to focus? Did you have a class, say, every Tuesday at 10 a.m., dedicated entirely to the mechanics of concentration? If I were to ask a live audience this question, maybe one or two hands out of hundreds would go up. For almost all of us, it's a resounding no. And yet, think about how often we actually heard this command. We were all constantly yelled at to concentrate by parents, by teachers, by coaches. Concentrate on your food. Concentrate on your homework. People demand focus from us literally all the time, yet it's honestly shocking that nobody actually showed us the mechanics of how to do it. You would never expect the child to magically know how to play the piano just by yelling, "Play the piano" at them, right? You have to teach them the keys. But with focus, we just kind of expect it to happen by magic. Let's move on to Section 1, the law of practice. Let's see how this builds into the reality of what we are actually doing with our brains every single day. Because think about it, if we aren't practicing focus, what exactly are we practicing? Look at your daily routine. The average person sleeps for about 7 to 8 hours, which means we're awake for roughly 16 hours a day. Out of those 16 waking hours, how much time do you actually spend deliberately concentrating? For most of us, it's virtually none. Instead, we are actively practicing distraction for roughly 13 hours a day, 7 days a week. We are constantly bouncing from email to a text message to social media to a conversation and then right back to our phones. Let's put that into perspective for a second. If you wanted to play basketball for the Chicago Bulls or dance for the San Francisco Ballet, you'd probably need to practice about 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, and even then it would take years to become an expert athlete. But look at our daily lives. We're putting in 13 hours a day of pure distraction. If you practice a sport that much, you'd be a world-class pro. So it makes perfect sense that practicing distraction 13 hours a day has turned you into an absolute master of losing focus. You could practically write a New York Times bestseller on being an expert distractee.
So the absolutely crucial point here is that a lack of concentration isn't necessarily a personal failing, and it certainly isn't always a clinical disorder that just needs to be drugged. It is simply the natural result of intense, daily practice of the wrong skill. According to the law of practice, we become highly skilled at whatever we practice over and over again, regardless of whether it's a positive habit or a negative one. You aren't broken. You are just incredibly well trained at being distracted.
Which brings us to Section 2, the technology myth. Now I know exactly what you might be thinking, and you might be blaming your smartphone for all of this. It's the easy scapegoat. So let's unpack a story about technology straight from the monastery.
When Dandapani gave up all his worldly possessions, his family, his friends, his belongings, to join a very traditional cloistered Hindu monastery in Hawaii, his packing list was surprisingly short. He was issued a standard set of monk robes, a set of prayer beads, and, wait for it, a MacBook Pro. Yes, a Mac. And when iPhones came out, the monks were issued iPhones as well. It's always so fascinating to see people's reactions to the idea of a monk walking around with an Apple device.
Dandapani recalls a time a visitor was incredibly confused by this and asked if it was even allowed for monks to use email. He uses this brilliant pun to explain it to them. Of course it's okay for monks to use email, as long as there are no attachments. It's a pretty great joke, but it highlights a profound truth. Technology itself isn't the enemy of concentration. And this demands a massive shift in perspective. Technology is a beautiful tool. I mean, it puts rovers on Mars. But it's only a beautiful tool if we are the ones in charge of it. If your phone beeps and you blindly drop everything to answer it, essentially saying, "Yes, master, how can I serve you today?" well, then you are actively training your distraction. But remember, you are the one in control. You can always just choose to click those drop-down notifications and turn them off. The problem isn't the tech. The problem is our uncontrolled engagement with it. Let's dive into Section 3, awareness versus the mind. Okay, so if tech isn't the root cause of our fractured attention, what is the secret to focus? To figure that out, we have to start by understanding the most powerful tool in the world, and it is absolutely absurd when you think about it. If you buy a simple point-and-shoot camera, whose only job is literally just to point and shoot, it comes with a 100-page instructional manual. Yet we are born with and navigate the most complex, incredible tool in the known universe, our human mind, without any manual at all. You simply cannot control or focus something that you do not fundamentally understand. So, in the monk's framework, you've kind of got to visualize your mind geographically. Imagine your mind as this massive, vast expanse of space. And within this vast spatial area, there are countless different, distinct zones. There's a section for anger, a section for joy, a section for art, for science, for food. The mind is a static space containing all of these different topical and emotional zones.
Now here is where it gets really fascinating. Separately from the mind, you have awareness. Imagine awareness as a glowing ball of light, an orb that can float around and travel within that vast spatial area of your mind. Whatever area this glowing orb travels to, it illuminates, and whatever that light touches, that is what you become conscious of, and that is what you experience in that moment.
And wow, this is the real paradigm shift. People always say, oh, my mind wanders all the time. Technically, that's completely false. Your mind is a stationary space. What actually wanders is your awareness. When you go to a movie theater, you're paying a director to drag your glowing ball of light to the happy area of your mind, then the suspenseful area, then the sad area. That's entertainment. But in our daily lives, we constantly let random people, movies, and notifications drag our glowing ball of light from one area to another without our permission. And guys, that is the very definition of distraction.
So let's test this out in Section 4, the mental exercise. Let's see how this works in real time to prove this isn't just some monk voodoo, but a tangible mechanism you control. We're going to do 4 quick steps. First, wherever you are right now, I want you to mentally become aware of your surroundings. Think about the room you are in. Notice the sounds, the feeling of the chair. Okay? Step 2. Now I want you to shift your thoughts and remember a recent wedding you attended. Who got married? What was the bride's dress like? Was the food any good? Really picture it. Step 3. Next, shift your thoughts entirely to recall your last vacation. Where did you go? Was the weather nice? Think about the meals you ate. And finally, step 4. Drop the vacation entirely and come right back to the current room you are in. Notice what just happened there. You successfully moved your awareness to completely different areas of the mind on command. When you were thinking about the bride's dress at the wedding, you weren't thinking about the chair you're sitting in. When you were thinking about your vacation, the wedding completely faded away. This brilliantly illustrates that your awareness and your mind are completely separate entities. And most importantly, you just proved that you absolutely have the power to steer that glowing orb wherever you want it to go.
Which leads us perfectly to Section 5, the art of concentration. Now that we finally have the manual, how do we practice this?
Well, the art of concentration is simply the art of keeping that glowing ball of light on one thing for an extended period of time. And you don't need to move to a monastery to practice this. You practice everyday focus by using your daily, chaotic life as a gym. The best way? Do one single thing at a time. If you live with a spouse or a partner, every time you have a conversation, intentionally place your glowing ball of light entirely on them. When your awareness inevitably drifts away to your to-do list, forcefully pull it back. If it drifts again, pull it back again. Giving them your full awareness is literally world-class concentration practice. And this is especially vital if you're a parent. Parents are always asking how to teach their kids to concentrate. Well, as the old saying goes, monkey sees, monkey do. If you cannot give your children your undivided attention, you cannot expect them to know how to focus. If parents want their children to stop being distracted, instead of just rushing to medicate them, they must first master their own focus. You have to lead by example and actually show them what concentrated, undivided energy looks like. Ultimately, the stakes here are incredibly high. This entire explainer really boils down to this one profound truth. Life is a manifestation of where your energy is flowing. Whenever you focus your awareness on something, your energy flows straight toward it. If your awareness is fractured and constantly being hijacked by distractions, your energy is completely scattered. And if you cannot concentrate your energy into a single point, manifesting the life you actually want becomes incredibly, sometimes impossibly challenging.
The ability to stay focused is the absolute foundation for a joyous, successful life. It's a skill, and like any skill, it requires you to actively take control of your own mental machinery. So I'll leave you with this final thought to really challenge how you navigate your mind going forward. Where will you intentionally direct your glowing ball of light today?
I hope this new framework empowers you to stop being a servant to distraction and helps you reclaim your unwavering focus.